welcome to the FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship for round 4 here at Clay Pigeon. It's a Sunday and we have 20 fantastic races coming up on the schedule. So before we get into them, let's have a little chat to the riders in the paddock to see what they thought heading into the weekend.
We are joined by Minimoto elite rider Dylan Tureen. Dylan, how has this weekend been going for you so far?
It's been going good. I like it. Track is nice and fast. I like it. It's great. Fastest.
What are your expectations this weekend? What would you like to achieve by Sunday?
At least come 5th, maybe 4th. I don't know.
Fair enough. So you race in the pros and the elites. Which one do you find more challenging?
Elites.
So you think you can finish 5th in the pros? What about the elites?
Elites maybe 7th.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. I wish you luck.
Yeah, I race the AC40 Pro air cord. So in the elites, they race liquid cord, which are faster than air cord, and yeah.
Fair enough. Which one do you prefer racing in?
Air cord.
Fair enough. What do your friends and family think of your racing career so far?
They think I'm really good and amazing.
Yeah, so what are your plans for the future? What are your goals and dreams?
In the future. So, at least winning in the future maybe, yeah.
So who are your idols within motorsport? Any motorcycle riders that you look up to?
Yeah, my dad and Pit Bike Sonic.
Okay, well thank you very much for the interview, Dylan.
Okay, bye.
Here we have Matthew Thomas from the Minimoto Pro Championship. Matthew, how has this season been going for you so far?
Good. I'm 4th in the championship. I was second. I was at Ella, but I had a couple of crashes, so it made me go down to 4th.
Do you believe that you can pull back that ground this weekend at Clay Pigeon?
Yes.
Yeah, what are your plans going into the weekend? Do you have any strategies, any goals?
Just try copy other people's lines and see how fast they get me to.
Do you find this track challenging?
Yeah.
It's an interesting circuit. So where do you see yourself going forward for the rest of the season?
Probably second.
Yeah.
Or at least second for the season, so I can move up to match kits.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much, Matthew. So here we have Philip Zaruriak from the Extremes. Philip, before we get into anything, can I ask you about the Elmo on your race suit?
It's basically my dog's just called Elmo, so we just put him on our leathers.
So is that a lucky charm?
I think so, yeah.
I hear you've been racing in the British Talent Cup. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I've progressed to British Talent Cup from the 70s, the kind of quickest class in FAB. And yeah, it's going well so far. I'm progressing in results. The results are getting better and better each round. So yeah, overall it's positive, yeah.
So FAB has been a brilliant place to start your career.
Yeah, it taught me a lot, especially it's my first championship that I've raced in, so it definitely taught me a lot, yeah.
So where do you see yourself in a couple of years' time?
In a few years, maybe Red Bull Rookies and progress further to make my dream come true.
So we're going to talk about this weekend, Clay Pigeon Raceway. What are your thoughts on the track? Are you a fan?
Yeah, I really love the track actually. It's probably my favourite track, or one of my top 2 tracks that I've been on that FAB race on. And yeah, it's a really good track. Hopefully it doesn't rain tomorrow, but we'll see, yeah.
So you're expecting some good results this weekend then?
Yeah, hopefully you can get some podiums. Yeah, overall, I think it will be a really good weekend.
Okay, well I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. So here we have Noah Guillory, a resident artist within the paddock. How has your season gone so far? Do you have anything to say?
It's gone pretty good. I'm in 5th in the championship on the Extreme 200s, and I'm just in the 70 class just for extra training.
Do you find it difficult to balance the two? Is it difficult to transition from one bike to another?
I'm not really switching from one bike to the other. I'm kind of just staying on the 70, but on the Friday practices, I do sometimes go on the CRF 150.
Fair enough. Clay Pigeon Raceway, are you a fan of the circuit? Are there any difficult challenges?
Not really. I really like this circuit because it's nice and flowy, and there's a lot of overtaking opportunities.
So what are your goals for this weekend?
Top 5 in 70s, and in extreme, hopefully a top 3.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much.
Hello and welcome to day 2 of round 4 of the FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship here at Clay Pigeon. My name is Lewis Ray, and alongside me for this weekend is Dylan Goodrick. Dylan, how are you today? Oh,
absolutely great. After such a phenomenal day yesterday here at Clay Pigeon, some really unpredictable weather. It was said this morning that we'd have a sunny day all day. However, the rain has just started, so it looks as if we are in for some interesting weather again.
Yeah, certainly. Clouds have just came over, rain's just starting to fall, and we're just finishing the last few warm-up sessions. Currently on track is the Mini GP70s. 5 seconds to go in that warm-up session, but I do not believe anyone is out on track right now.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, the 70s race yesterday was absolutely phenomenal. The LS2 Hellnitz Mini GP70s. We had a dominant race from McCarthy. A very wet race. We saw a big crash for Ronnie Harris, a high side through the S's, and what was just a very unpredictable race, Lewis.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, no one really thought that Henry McCartney can do such a great performance, but it was Ronnie Harris who, well, he had such a big crash and he came back from it and still got a podium, which was just super impressive. But Henry McCartney practically lapped the whole field yesterday, so he's going to be looking, all eyes are on him today, and going to be looking to do the same. But conditions once again look to be highly changeable.
Yeah, no, as we see the pit bike 140s going out for their warm-up session, we'll see, as we've already had a crash for Rossi Banham. Rossi Banham is off, already being caught out by the light rain that is falling on this Clay Pigeon circuit. So will Rossi Banham be shaken by that incident, or can he return to form later on today? We shall soon see.
Yeah, Rossi is quite a chilled out rider, especially here at FAB. He likes to have a laugh, and I don't think it'll faze him too much, to be honest. I mean, the rain's just starting to fall, and they're all in slick tyres, and slick tyres are still cold, so it's just so easy to make these mistakes. But it is only warm-up, so no pressure in this session. Just go out and enjoy yourself, feel the track, feel the conditions, and some riders already pulling into the pit lane and just gonna sit this one out, because it is only an 8-minute session, so it's not too much track time that they're losing out on, but every little helps obviously here at FAB. So yeah, everyone's looking towards the 2 races that we have here today. 20 races on the Sunday, each class is 2 races, and in the pit bikes yesterday it was a shortened race due to the red flag, but once again it was just highly dramatic. I mean, there was crashes, there was overtakes, there was battles for the lead, there was the race, well, there was one of the people battling for the race lead crashing out of the session, so it handed the race to Rossi Banham, and it was a great result. It was a great race all round, to be honest. It had everything you wanted, changeable conditions, and on track today we have an even bigger field. We have Harvey Claridge, a British GP2 rider who is in the extremes, and he may potentially also be riding, and there he is right there in the screen. Yep, he's riding both classes on 2 different motorcycles, obviously in the pit bike 140s on a 4-stroke former Talent Cup rider, and right now in the British GP2 Championship. So it's great to have another British Championship rider. He's leading the British GP2 Championship to my knowledge. So yeah, it's great having more talent coming in and be able to help these riders develop.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're in for some action today, especially in the pit bike 140s after a very difficult race for the boys out on track yesterday. We had a massive high side on the exit of the horseshoe. So yeah, we're going to have to wait to see how this one pans out. What are your predictions?
Yeah, the pit bike 140, especially if it stays like this and a bit more dry conditions, to be honest, it would be great to see a dry race for the pit bike 140s, because although I do love a wet race, the pit bike 140s, it seems to get the closest action in the wet. Although the wet usually does tend to close everyone together, it just seemed the opposite effect almost in the pit bikes. Pit bikes, we usually expect a 5 or 6 battle for the lead, but yesterday slightly less, but still thrilling action.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As Lucas Brown currently tops the timing tower with a 41.436, but as you mentioned, Lewis, this is just a warm-up session, so they can take it easy out there, as Ryan Hitchcock does go P1 with a 41.228.
Yeah, and well, we're talking about taking it easy on warm-up actually. Earlier on, whenever it was sunny, the Mini GP50s were out doing their warm-up session, and Archie O'Brien actually was 2/10 under the lap record, and although it is warm-up so that it doesn't count as a new lap record as it has to be done in a race, it's still great showing, and it shows that these riders are ready for a race today if conditions stay favourable.
Yeah, now I was about to mention the rain does look as if it has cooled off a little bit. The track surface is way too dry for wet tyres at the moment, so we're going to have to wait and see if weather will have an effect today. But fingers crossed, we can have some decent action regardless.
Yeah, certainly. But hello and welcome if you've just joined us. This is FAB-Racing here at round 4 at Clay Pigeon. Share if you're watching us on the YouTube and comment and tell us who you're supporting, who you want to win. And we're also live on Facebook and Twitter on the FAB-Racing pages and the Motorsport media pages and Motorsport radio pages. So it's great to have you along here. It's the halfway point in the season, and now it's time where riders are going to start thinking about championships.
I seem to have jinxed the weather as the rain has just started coming down a little bit more. Rossi Banham has taken P1 after the crash he had at the start of the session. That's a rider off in the background.
Yeah, riders really struggling with these conditions, as now it's getting to the point where the track might be getting slightly slippy, especially the paint. The paint's one of the first things on the racetrack to get slippy, but there's Ryan Hitchcock, who we believe did have that tip off just in the final corner there, and he's riding as well with his foot practically on the ground, go round the corners, just try get a bit more balance off the motorcycle because conditions are that bad. There's Rossi Banham practically cruising with 3 minutes to go in the session.
Yeah, no, especially on these slick tyres. With the rain starting to come down a lot more, it's just not worth risking it in this session for a lot of the riders out there at the moment. So will we see some of them come into the pit lane and just sit out the rest of the session?
Yeah, we might do it. Just depends. I mean, some riders may just stay out because it may be like this in the race, a bit iffy, a bit greasy, the exact thing that you do not want. But of course, if you joined us yesterday, you would have seen 10 in thrilling races, and one of them actually, probably the highlight of yesterday, was the mini F1 sidecar race, though.
Oh no, absolutely. We had a fantastic side-by-side battle between the Green Street and the Keats, making contact into the hairpin and through the horseshoe, with the Keats also sustaining damage to their gear lever, I believe, which meant that they were stuck in third gear for the entire race. So yeah, no, we had a phenomenal F1 sidecar race yesterday.
Yeah, and although the Keats was stuck in third gear, they also managed to keep off Mick Williams. Mick Williams, of course, his win streak came to an end, and it was such a big thing in the paddock. I think it was all the talk within the sidecar group among the paddock this morning, just the fact that win streak is over, and now the likes of the Green Street can come in this race today, in race 2, and have so much confidence going into it.
Yeah, absolutely, Lewis. As I've just mentioned, the rain picking up is also cooled off yet again. So this Dorset weather proving to be very, very temperamental, as we saw yesterday. So will we have some wet weather action today? We shall wait and see.
Yeah, we shall. Well, stick here and find out with us what's going to happen with the weather, what's going to happen with the racing, who is going to win today. Tell us at home who you're supporting. But if you're new at FAB and are watching this today for the first time today and want to get your kid involved in this is a Road to MotoGP series, and it's really the first step for these young riders in their motorcycle racing careers. So if you want to get your child involved, head over to the FAB-Racing website and find out bike sizes, age restrictions, and how to get your kid involved.
Yeah, as we watch the number 55 of Ryan Tyres coming around the final corner now, taking it relatively easy, smooth riding around the final turn. But yeah, no, the rain doesn't seem to be affecting this session too much now. The track is still dry enough for slick tyres. So will we see anyone challenge Rossi Banham in this warm-up session?
Nah, I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, the conditions are slightly too bad, and it's 55 seconds to go, so there's not really too much point pushing too hard in the session, especially for the likes of Ryan Tyres, who of course had that crash yesterday coming out the horseshoe, and right now he's down 19th in the warm-up session. But do not count him out today. He will be up front in the race. Right now he's just taking his time and learning. But one person actually who has just shot up the timesheets is Harvey Claridge, who of course is riding today, and I believe we'll be starting from the back of the grid, as he didn't take part in qualifying yesterday. He is 43 thousandths of a second off Rossi Banham, as that's Harvey Claridge having a slight moment there going around the hairpin. So he did quite a good job. 2 saves there in the front end. I wanted to tuck in him, but yeah, it's just showing how tricky these conditions actually are. Yeah, no, exactly. I was going to say Harvey Claridge might pose a threat to Rossi Banham if we do get another unpredictable race today. So we'll have to wait and see if he can make some inroads on the grid. Obviously, we know that he is a very, very talented rider, so we'll have to wait and see what happens in race 1. Yeah, we certainly will. And one person is also further down the timesheets and probably what you expect is Reece Peacock, of course, one of the people that is known for battling for race wins here in the pit by 140. AC40 class, down in 18th right now. But as we said, it is only warm-up, and this session has came to the end now. The checker flag is out and they're heading to the pit lane. So now it's coming into the time where we come into the first race of the day, the race 2 now. So it's going to be great finally to get racing started, but conditions are changeable for this first race of the day, so it's going to be very tricky for these riders.
Yeah, no, we're about to have our AC40 Pro Race 2 this weekend for what will be surely a brilliant race again. We had some great action yesterday as we see Rossi Pannon pop in another wheelie, something that he does very, very often.
And next up, we will have the AC40 Pro Race 2. The first race of the Sunday. Conditions are still changeable for this class, and now it's time for riders to get their heads into race mode, because as we know, in the warm-up sessions this morning, whenever they went out on track, they were first out and it was sunny and beautiful conditions, and now we're back to gloomy skies, rain in the air, and it's going to be very tricky for these riders.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we had some drama on within the warm-up laps yesterday, which shook up the races big time, since we had some riders not even start the race due to slipping off on the warm-up lap because of simply how wet the track was. And of course we had some riders with mechanical problems as well, so fingers crossed we can have everyone out on track today.
Yes, certainly, and certainly I am sure that we're going to get a great race. I mean, these AC40 Pros, they usually provide us with great racing. This is the middle class of the mini motos, so it's really the stepping stone before the LC40 Elites, which is the highest tier mini moto class, which we'll get on to later. And some of these riders, of course, race in both series, such as Dylan Tureen and Byron Johnson. So yeah, it is great to see so many riders get extra track time in this class, and it's really another thing that FAB-Racing does to reduce the costs.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I can't see many riders out there turning down the opportunity to get some more track time, because especially in these sort of conditions, these unpredictable shower dry conditions, it's crucial to have experience out on track, so this is exactly what they are doing.
Yes, certainly. You're just seeing the parents and the riders come onto the grid before they set off on their warm-up lap for today. It's just going to be a time to properly get through these conditions, because as you said, the last time they were out it's sunny, and now it's completely different. It's completely changed. It's similar to yesterday, so now the riders really have to get focused, get their heads into the game, and we just see a couple of riders making their way down to the grid now.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what's going on with this rider here. It appears that he may have had a problem, but he's returning to the back of the grid now.
Yeah, but he may have even just kind of went off for his warm-up a bit too early and had to do half a lap and cut in on the end road there in the middle of the track. So he's on the grid now. So now the question is, what's going to happen in this race, and what is going to happen with this weather? Yeah,
no, exactly. If we start under dry conditions, you expect most of the riders to be out there on the slick tyre. So if we get a bit of rain, we could see them dropping like flies, but we shall see if that seems to occur.
Yeah, and you see the riders just heading off on their warm-up lap. One warm-up lap they will have signified by the starting marshal with one finger up in the air. So now it is time to get ready for the first race of the day.
Yeah, so in P1 we have Lewis Hull with a 45.719 in qualifying, followed by Harrison Day in second. Sam Gardner sits in third place with Matthew Thomas in fourth. Jensen Bishop in fifth with Byron Johnson in sixth. Liam Lindquist in seventh with Chloe Gleeson in eighth. Oliver Hall in ninth with George Ackerman in 10th. Dylan Tureen in 11th, and Rex Austin and Callum Maxwell in P12 and 13.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent sized class here in the AC40 Pros. 13 riders on the grid, so it's enough to produce some excellent racing, which I'm sure we're going to see in this first race of the day.
Yeah, as they round the final corner to go and line up onto the grid for the start of this race. There is no rain falling at the moment. If so, it is very, very light. So we're definitely going to get a dry start to this race as we see the last rider of Dylan Tureen coming around the corner to line up in his grid stop.
Yeah, and we just wait for the final riders. As you said, Dylan Tureen making his way, shaking his head actually coming to the grid. So maybe now they may have some issues, but now it's time to get ready. The last checks are done on the bike. You can see some riders and some dads helping them heat up that rear tyre, get as much heat into it as possible. But now it is time. All focus is on the lights. All the pressure is on them now. All the tension is building on the grid. Here we go. The first race of the day. We wait. The tension rises. We wait for the point to the lights from the start marshal. Final checks have been done. The point to the lights is done. We wait for the lights to go on, and the lights are on. and we wait for them to go out. The lights are off and we go racing for the first time on Sunday here at Clay Pigeon. But it's Harrison Day who makes a great start and followed closely behind him Matthew Thomas. Matthew Thomas on his tail, but it's Sam Gardner in that final podium position as we see Byron Johnson almost making contact with Lewis Hull through that first S's.
Yeah, Lewis Hull really did not get the start from the pole position that he would have wanted, falling back all the way to P5 now as they go into the hairpin for the first time this race. Very clean from every rider out on track, as that's very close for P2 there into the horseshoe. Wow, what a start it is from everyone, greatly clean.
Yeah, it certainly is, and Harrison Day leads the way. It's exactly what we wanted from that front row of the grid, and look at that gap he's already pulled. That's one size group, and then Harrison Day is out front and got a pretty comfortable lead for that first lap of the race as they go across the timing beam for the first time, and Harrison Day has a 9/10 of a second lead, and we see Byron Johnson trying to dive up the inside of Lewis Hull, but Lewis Hull slamming the doors. Lewis Hull makes a move on Sam Gardner through the S's. His bike chatters away and shakes about, but everyone makes it through cleanly. He makes a perfect pass, but it's Matthew Thomas who leads the second group of riders.
Yeah, no, that made Lewis Hull that made Sam Gardner have to check up into the S's there. So he's under pressure now from Byron Johnson. Goes down the inside into the horseshoe. What a move that is for Byron Johnson as they head towards the final corner.
Yeah, great move there from Byron Johnson. Clean, and it didn't affect his time too much. You can already see he's moving on the back of Lewis Hull. Lewis Hull, though, has different plans. It's to get past Matthew Thomas. It'll go going across the line now. 7 laps to go in this race. It goes past so quick, and now it's Matthew Thomas, though, who is under pressure from Byron Johnson. Byron Johnson is on the move here. He's trying to hunt down Harrison Day as Byron Johnson sets the fastest lap of the race for 44.7.
Yeah, as Lewis Hull just launched one on Byron Johnson into the S's, but Byron Johnson was not going to give him the space that he wanted as they come into the hairpin. That's a move from Byron Johnson on Matthew Thomas. Byron Johnson is meaning business here today as he seeks to find the lead off Harrison Day. Is that a move in the background there? I believe that's a back Marquez. Oh, one of the riders is squirrely.
Yeah, Dylan Tureen just trying to get past him as safe as possible right now, but that has helped Byron Johnson. Byron Johnson has no pressure from behind him right now, so now all eyes are in front of him for Harrison Day. But I think Lewis Hull in third place right now is trying his best to keep Byron as Byron sets the number fastest lap of the race with 44.715. The only rider right now in the 44 seconds, 3/10 faster than Harrison Day, with just 1 second behind.
Yeah, no, Byron Johnson is going to try his best to bridge the gap here to Harrison Day. I was watching Byron Johnson into the hairpin earlier on. He's so leant over into that corner, much more than any of the other riders. He has such great control of that motorcycle. So can he bridge the gap to the lead? He can. Look how close he is already. He's all over the back of Harrison Day into the final corner here. Can he set up a move as they round the final corner now? Nothing to separate the two of them. He has to prioritise the exit here as he's a little bit tighter on exit. Is he going to get a run on Harrison Day going down the start-finish straight? He's got a much tighter line for the first corner. He makes the move through Brian Billy's. What a move!
Yeah, it certainly was, and Byron Johnson's in the lead of the race with just 5 laps to go. The question is now, does Harrison Day have the pace? I mean, Harrison Day could have just stayed a bit more relaxed and tried to stay relaxed on the motorcycle just to conserve a bit of energy for that final couple of laps because he had a decent sized gap. So now it's time really to see what does Harrison Day have in his back pocket. But the real person who has got held up by the back marker, Dylan Tureen there, was Matthew Thomas. Matthew Thomas is down in 5th place and he's got a 7-second gap from the race lead now. I mean, Matthew Thomas has been held up a lot, but it's sometimes what happens in this class and in mini motor racing. But it's Lewis Hull who comes on this front straight and is trying to fight any way past. He's caught up to Harrison Day actually. So now Harrison Day, what can he do in 2nd place?
Yeah, no, Harrison Day got an extremely good launch off the exit of that final corner. This is a battle further back as they come around the final corner with Dylan Tureen still proving to be a struggle for some of these riders. As that is the number 20. I'm not sure who that is going through your shot now as they go into the hairpin. This is the fight for the lead. We have Lewis Hull all over the back of Harrison Day as they go into the horseshoe. Lewis Hull here is trying to set up a move, trying to force an error for Harrison Day. As he's on the outside, is he going to launch one to the inside for the final corner? No, he's going to have to back out of it. Can he get a better exit from the final corner onto the start-finish straight? We shall soon see as he seems to be close enough. There's nothing to separate them, riding the white line, and that seems to be a wobble for Lewis Hull.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think it was Chloe Gleason there that just got slightly held up in that group of riders from Dylan Tureen, but Dylan Tureen, of course, trying his best and trying to push as hard as he can. But it's Byron Johnson still in lead, 1.3 seconds. That was Lewis Hull. That's a big crash and tries to save it. He slaps the ground in frustration as he slides on the ground, but straight away back on it. That he's kept the bike going, and now he's trying just to recover as much time as possible and try not to lose any valuable championship points.
Yeah, no, very helpful Marshall, giving him a push to get going. Now, this is all between Harrison Day and Byron Johnson. Does Harrison Day have an answer for the man out front? We shall soon see as they come into the final corner with 3 laps to go. Byron Johnson out front by 1.3 seconds, seems to have this race under control, but anything can happen here. Anything can happen in this class.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think it's Byron Johnson right now who just needs to try and keep his cool. With just 2 laps to go, he needs to use his head. He has an 8/10 of a second gap, so it's not too much. I mean, there's Chloe Gleason in your picture, just trying to rejoin the track. Clearly had an incident or had some sort of issue there, but there is the man moment, and that is a rider down.
Is that Sam Gardner? I think we have Sam Gardner on the floor. That is not what Sam Gardner needs. He looked in pain then. We shall wait and see if we can receive any news on that one as we watch Byron Johnson come through our shot now with 2 laps to go. Only an 8/10 gap between himself and Harrison Day now, although it appears that we have Hull in second. That must be a transponder issue.
Yeah, Byron Johnson leading the way on the final lap of the race now as he crosses the line, but it's time for him just to use his head, get around this last lap. It's such tricky conditions. There's very little light here, even though it's almost midday here at Clay Pigeon. It's so dark, but it is time for Byron Johnson to win the race, but it's Harrison Day who's closely behind him, and Harrison Day keeping tabs on him. He's able just to Harrison Day down on the final lap. Josh Day, his dad, just trying to give him a push, trying to get him to rejoin, but that will promote Lewis Hull into second place. Lewis Hull also having an incident on that a couple laps ago, so Lewis Hull back into second place, and Harrison Day not what he wanted, because it's this man right here who will gain even more championship advantage on him. Byron Johnson wins the race. He wins the race to the first race of Sunday here at Clay Pigeon in domination style. It has made all of his competitors crack, but not Byron Johnson. Byron Johnson wins. Harrison Day should come home in third place, but it's Matthew Thomas right on his tail right now, but it doesn't look like Matthew Thomas can do anything. Lewis Hull in second, and Harrison Day does come home in third.
Yeah, no, the rain has started coming down now, so the final couple laps of that race appeared to be a little bit wetter than we had previously. The S's looked incredibly slippery. We had multiple incidents there within the final 2 laps, but as you said, what a race that was, taken control by Byron Johnson. He has to be happy with that one.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, Byron Johnson, domination there. I mean, he just straight away from the first lap, he went, and although he never got the start that he would have wanted, he still just rode his own race and got a great result. But it is confirmation there. Byron Johnson winning by just 0.2 of a second in that final couple of laps. Lewis Hull coming home in second. Harrison Day third place after that fall in the last lap. Matthew Thomas, after getting held up by a back marker, comes home in fourth. Oliver Hull, last year's rookie champion, in fifth place. Jensen Bishop comes home in sixth. George Ackerman seventh. Kyle Maxwell eighth. Liam Lindquist in ninth, and Rex Austin rounds out the top 10. But yeah, it was a great race, and it's exactly what we're expecting. Some drama, not only from the race, but from weather conditions.
Yeah, no, the rain has picked up substantially within the last 5 minutes, so it certainly had an effect on the riders who did go down, but that didn't have an effect on Byron Johnson, who took the race by the horns and controlled it to the finish.
Yeah, he certainly did, and it was highly impressive to see from such a young rider. But of course, there's one more race for these riders. It is the AC40 Race 3, which we will have after lunch. But there is the rain, and there it is. It's so wet, it's proper pouring down. It looks like the weather is deciding to do the exact same thing as yesterday, where we get no showers until the track is almost dry, and then suddenly we get heavy, heavy showers.
Yeah, no. Hello and welcome to the Extreme 200. If you're just joining us, we are here in the paddock waiting to go out to the grid on a very wet Clay Pigeon day, which has had some mixed weather conditions like we had yesterday.
Yeah, it has, and you can just see the rain in your pitch, and riders from the AC40 Pro class discussing the race that they've had. But right now, there's very little extreme riders out here right now, so we're just waiting for riders to have a chance to change their tyres, because of course it just has started to pour down here at Clay Pigeon, so we're giving riders a chance so they're not racing on slick tyres in such terrible conditions, because slick tyres in wet conditions never work out good.
Yeah, but will we see anyone gamble? We saw a few gambles yesterday in a few of the classes due to how temperamental these weather conditions have been, but the track appears to be way too damp for slicks at the moment, especially within motorcycle racing, because there's very little room for error. If you slide in a car, you know, you can kind of keep it going, but if you slide on a bike, you're off into the runoff. Yeah,
bike racing, there's a fine edge between being a hero to zero, but there is Noah Gilray in your picture right now, just waiting in the holding area. And yeah, I don't think any riders will be trying to gamble. I mean, most of these motorcycles, they're not really powerful enough to shred up the wet tyres if it does become a lot drier, so we're just waiting. And there is some of the riders watching, some of the family members watching in the mini grandstands that we have around here at Clay Pigeon. There is Filip Sorowiak with the Elmo on his levers, and some other riders and some family members, as I said. Filip Sorowiak's father watching on, and there's some shots inside the paddock, some riders frantically changing their tyres and really just trying to get ready for this race too, because it is last minute. This weather gives no warning.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was going to say the spectators are very, very clever to be under a cover right now, or they would all be soaked. So as you see, this is the balcony. Good luck. It's luckily they have a cover over them there, because otherwise they'd be very, very wet.
Yeah, great facilities here at Clay Pigeon, as you can see, and some riders just waiting to get out. Actually, some Extreme 200 riders just waiting to get out themselves, so waiting to see what happens with this weather conditions and waiting to see how long they're going to give the riders to change the tyres, because of course some bikes it can be a lot faster than others, shall we say, to change the tyres, and some people might have a lot more people on hand and more experience to get them done quickly, so they have to give a fair amount of time to get these tyres changed so everyone can do it safely. Of course, safety is paramount here at FAB-Racing, because of course we want all riders to be safe, but now the rain, that seems somehow it's got even heavier.
Yeah, no, it was predicted this morning that we'd have sunshine and blue skies all day with just a bit of cloud cover, but no, I did mention that I believe we had some rain coming, because this Dorset weather can be temperamental at the best of times, and it's happening again today.
Yeah, it certainly is. It almost seems like we're at Knockhill, where the weather conditions are always changeable. It's 1 second it can be sunshine, next minute it is like this. And there's Sam Gardner, who did actually have a tip off last race, dropping all the way down to 11th place in the end, so not what Sam would have wanted. You can see some of the grass on his rear tyre there, and no one currently at the motorcycle, maybe just discussing with his parents what exactly happened that race and what they can do to improve in race 3, because of course one more race, we have 2 races today in each class, so it gives riders a chance just to have a race and then maybe make a few changes with either themselves or with the motorcycle before race 3.
Yeah, no, the rain started coming down at the end of the last AC40 Pro race, which allowed us to see a few mistakes made, and what the S's got very, very wet. There are damp sections of the track everywhere, especially the new tarmac, which hasn't quite been ran in yet.
Yeah, certainly hasn't. You can see some riders, Marco Holt as well, another rider that's down there watching on the live stream, giving waves to the camera. So hello if you're listening as well, if you're able to listen with the rain bouncing down on that metal canopy that you have over there. But the riders just waiting for some action on track, as we are here in the commentary box, and everyone at home. So thanks for joining us today, and we're waiting just with a short delay right now if you're just joining us because of the weather conditions.
Yeah, no, we're waiting for the Extreme 200 riders to fit their bikes with some wet tyres. I'm not sure why Filip Sorowiak is all the way over there when I believe he should be in the Extremes.
But yeah, he should be in the Extremes coming up, but he may already have the tyres changed. He does have his levers on, so all he really has is just a helmet to put on. But so it depends how long the delay is. There might be confirmation to the parents of how long the delay is and what time they need to be back, because there's Philip just left to head off to the paddock, so we hopefully should see him out on track, because he dominated at Clandau, to be honest. He started last in one of the races at Clandau, and by the first corner he was second place, and he dominated the whole race. It was an incredible result, and it's great as well seeing so many British Talent Cup riders coming back to FAB.
Yeah, we have more people waving within the grandstand or seating area. But yeah, no, Filip Sorowiak is certainly not one of the riders who wants to miss the start. Starting P2 on the grid after a good qualifying session on yesterday. The LS2 helmets, Mini GP70 series as well. should be a great race today. It's typically the main event here because it's the peak of FAB-Racing. And we saw a wet race yesterday, which provides some brilliant action, didn't it, Lewis?
Yeah, it certainly did. And as you said, it is the peak of FAB, and it's the last step for the riders, usually at FAB-Racing, before they move on to other things. But sometimes they do come back. We see a lot of British Talent Cup riders coming back and talking about British Talent Cup and many GP70s. We heard from an interview yesterday that Ronnie Harris is planning on doing a wild card in the British Talent Cup, which I believe will be at Donington Park. So it's great to see another FAB-Racing rider go on to move up to the British Championship.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It really highlights how great FAB is when it comes to starting your career within motorcycling. We have the younger riders, and obviously we have the older riders who are here, say in the mini F1 sidecars, who just do it as a hobby. But this is a brilliant place to start, isn't it, Lewis?
Yeah, it certainly is. And even though the older riders do it as a hobby, they do it for the same reason as these young riders do it, and that is because they love bike racing and they love motorsport, and all they want to do in their life is race. But there's some riders waiting to get out for the Extreme 200, and they're waiting underneath the shelter. It's a good idea because it allows them just have their visors open without getting their visors steamed up, because there's nothing worse than a steamed up visor.
Yeah, no, we mentioned this yesterday. It's particularly a problem in the rain because your breath fogs up the inside of the visor, which isn't a good thing because you can barely see the track.
Yeah, most of these riders, of course, will be running ping locks, so it's almost like double glazing for your windows, and it stops the visors. It stops the visors really steaming up, and a lot of these riders, of course, wearing LS2 helmets because they sponsor the many GP70 series, and they're great helmets, and safety is once again paramount at FAB-Racing. So it's great having such a great sponsor, and it's such a suitable sponsor for the championship, and one which it helps riders out. But there's Ryan Hitchcock and Noah Gilroy waiting just to get out on track, and waiting for these conditions maybe just to clear up slightly, because if you get any type of moisture inside your helmet, all it does is just completely steam up. But somehow, once again, the rain is, it's got even heavier.
Yeah, no, I was expecting this. No, like I said, no one believed me earlier on, but the rain has just started tipping it down. If it gets too bad, we may see another delay. However, fingers crossed these lads can go out on track.
Yeah, hopefully. And it really just shows how dedicated these marshals and medics and everyone here at the racetrack is, because of course we're able to be in here in the dry commentary box right now while they're out there in the pouring rain, in the cold, wet conditions. So it really just shows the dedication, of course, from our crew here, from all our camera team, Connor, Sam and Ed, all out there in these pouring conditions right now. And we're lucky enough just to be inside, but these you can see on your screen, these conditions are horrific.
Yeah, no, you really don't want to be out there right now. So props to the camera guys, the marshals and everyone who does take part within FAB. This rain is getting very, very heavy. I'm not sure if we'll get this race started on time, to be honest.
You can hear the rain right now through the camera, and it's weather that I'm used to seeing in Scotland, but I thought I would come down here for a nice sunny time, because at FAB we have been very lucky with the weather so far this season. This has been the first round where it rained, and it rained here last year as well. But there's Lee Clowes on your pitch right now, the start marshal, waiting just to get out of the track and waiting for these bikes to come on before we can hopefully get the race started.
Yeah, no, you can see just how much standing water we do have on the track. These riders are going to have to tiptoe around the track, not to not risk slipping off. It's as we do have them going out on track now, so it doesn't seem like we're going to have a delay.
Yeah, these riders braving the conditions right now, all of them on the wet tyres, because of course the delay was due to them needing to change tyres, but it's not a lot of them actually making their way out to the track, but maybe some are just coming late, stayed in their awning. There's Rossi Bannon making his way. Jack Andrews actually number 14 in your picture right now. Hudson issue in warm-up. He was stuck at the other side of the track and just waiting, and there is Harvey Claridge at the back of your picture pulling up to a tiny little stoppie going into his grid position. But we were speaking to him this morning, and he said actually he was scared for racing here today at FAB, just because he's not ridden a pit bike in 2 years, but he's racing a different motorcycle in the Extreme 200 class. It's a 2-stroke, so it's something completely different from the 4-stroke that he rides in the 140 class. But here we are for the Extreme 200s, where we should have Ryan Hitchcock starting in pole position with Philip Sorowiak going alongside them, and Rossi Banham in third place with Bailey Stewart Campbell in fourth. Noah Gilroy starting off the third row in fifth, with Jack Andrews, as I mentioned, had some issues in warm-up, starting sixth. Ollie Walker in seventh. Sean Whittaker rounded off the fourth row in eighth. Matthew Frederick in ninth, which I believe also races R6 down south in the BMC Championship. So it's great seeing some riders. His son, actually, I believe, also races in the rookies. His first round was last round at round 3, and Ben Jolly Life starts in 10th, with Thomas Dudson in 11th, Owen Thomas in 12th, Clayton Edmondson in 13th, and Harvey Claridge 14th on the grid.
I think I can still see Filip Sorowiak in the spectator area. I'm not sure if he is attending this race. He's supposed to be lining up in the second place grid slot, but he doesn't appear to be out on track at the moment. As we sit here in treacherous conditions, standing water all over the track. So we're going to have to see how this one goes. We're waiting for the start marshal to point up to those red lights to get this race underway. So here we have the Extreme 200s. Lights have been pointed to. The red lights come on. And the lights are off and we go racing at Clay Pigeon. Brilliant start from Ryan Hitchcock, with Rossi Banham fitting into second as they go into turn 1. The rain is treacherous. You can see spray coming out of the tyres as everyone tiptoes through turn 1. Is that Rossi Banham going down the inside into the S's? Yes, it is. Rossi Banham takes the lead off Ryan Hitchcock as they go towards the hairpin.
Yeah, great start from Rossi Banham. He's doing exactly what he needs to do at the start of the race, and that is not let Ryan Hitchcock escape. Ryan Hitchcock, though, he's right in his tail. He's making sure Rossi cannot get away. He's putting on as much pressure as possible, but you're seeing these riders just tiptoe around these conditions. They can't even get their knee down. It's so treacherous right now. There's standing water on the track. It's slippy. Their levers right now will be filling up with water. They'll be coming double the thickness and twice as heavy. But Jack Andrews also making a great start in third place right now, and really all these riders braving the conditions. Great to see so many riders out there, but it's Rossi Banham who leads the way by 1 second after lap 1.
Yeah, no, exactly. Is that move in the background from Jack Andrews? Not quite, as he's on the back of Ryan Hitchcock now, going towards the S's. These riders have to find the dry line. They have to find the dry patches to get as much grip as they possibly can around this soaking racetrack. As they come down into the hairpin for the second time, tiptoeing through the puddles. If they hit those too fast, they are off. They are into the runoff. As we see, that is Jack Andrews making a move on Ryan Hitchcock into the horseshoe.
Yeah, as in great from Jack Andrews there. Jack Andrews straight away just piling the pressure. Now it's time for Sean Whittaker to have a go up the inside of Ryan Hitchcock, and he makes the move work, going around the final corner. But Rossi Banham right now has been let off the loose. I mean, now it's time to see what Jack Andrews has in his back pocket. But right now, Harvey Claridge is up to 5th place. Keep in mind, there's a rider down on the deck at the first turn there. Sean Whittaker down with just 10 laps going to race. So there's 8 riders out on circuit right now, so you can get the bike restarted and still get some points. But as I was saying, Harvey Claridge right now in 4th place actually now. He started 14th on the grid. Although there's only 8 riders in this race, he still had to start in the 14th grid position, so still quite a lot of ground to make up, and just showing how great some of these riders are.
Yeah, no, exactly. This is bound to be a race of attrition though, as we saw with Sean Whittaker into turn 1, just perhaps pushed a little bit too hard, hit a puddle, and off he was into the runoff of turn 1. As we watch Harvey Claridge come around the final corner now, trying to make some inroads on the riders ahead of him. But Rossi Banham seems to have control of this race, 1.9 seconds ahead of Jack Andrews in second, but not to the start that Ryan Hitchcock would have wanted.
Yeah, certainly not. And I mean, the thing is, in these conditions, whenever you sometimes brake a bit too hard, and there is Sean Whittaker again, I believe, also having some bike issues, or maybe tipped off once again. But now all eyes actually are on Harvey Claridge, because he is catching quite quickly to Ryan Hitchcock.
Yeah.
So now it is time for him to try and make a move, and it looks like he's going to try it going into the final corner. He lines up a pass and he makes it work. That is a great clean pass. It's exactly what he wants as we head on to make it 8 laps to go in this race.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Harvey Claridge is going to do everything he can to make some ground on Jack Andrews. Could he potentially challenge Rossi Banham towards the end of this race? As I mentioned within the warm-up earlier, bear in mind the warm-up for these guys was bone dry.
Yeah, it certainly was. And in these conditions, the thing is, if you brake a bit too hard, sometimes the front wheel can lock, and it just means you're down on the deck straightaway. There's barely anything you can do to save it. So it's so treacherous on these motorcycles, and you really just have to modulate how hard you want to brake and how hard you want to open up that throttle, especially if you're the likes of Harvey Claridge, which is on a 2-stroke motorcycle with a power band. So it just means with the power band, as soon as you hit it, it's almost like an on-off switch, and straight away it's very easy. But if you're on that side of the tyre, to almost get flipped up to the moon. But Harvey Claridge using all of his skill and ability right now and closing in on Jack Andrews, as Jack Andrews is 3.5 seconds back from Rossi Banham.
Yeah, as Harvey Claridge sets the fastest lap of the race with a 46.451. Yeah, as you said, throttle control is so important in these conditions. A little bit too much throttle, you could spin up the rears, and well, it would be game over for you.
Yeah, it certainly will, but it looks like Harvey Claridge just closed in on Jack Andrews so much this lap. You can just see the added confidence that he has in these conditions. He was racing at Knockhill at the British Superbikes on the GP2 bike not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and on the Friday conditions were just like this, and he had a lot more power on him then with no traction control. So he knows exactly what it's like racing in these conditions, and now it's time to use all of his experience as he tries to line up a move on Jack Andrews as they're on the front straight, and they come over actually a puddle there because there's a new part of the tarmac which does puddle up quite badly, but this track does provide pretty good grip in the wet. I'll speak to Jay as he dives up the inside of Jack Andrews actually and gets into second place. Keep in mind, started 14th on the 14th grip position. Now he's already up to second place. You can see the doctor's dangle into the hairpin.
Yeah, no, very bold move from Harvey Claridge there as he tries to hunt down Rossi Banham now. 6 laps to go. Can he catch the 3.9 second deficit that he currently has? He's down. He's down. Harvey Claridge is down. He said he was scared of these pit bikes, and that is why they are so unforgiving, especially in these conditions, Lewis.
Yeah, it certainly is. And as I said, it was just as he hit the power band, the rear, and he was on that side of the tyre, the rear edge just lit up and he was down. It's so difficult to try a 2-stroke and dry. Never mind try and ride it in these conditions. I mean, in these conditions, it's so tricky. It looks like he may have a slight issue, and he's so disappointed with that because he was going so well. I mean, 14th grip position to second place, but now, yeah, he's cruising at this point. As we see Rossi Banham get past some back markers now. Rossi Banham just dominating now in this race. A 7-second gap over Jack Andrews at the line.
Yeah, but you can't get complacent in these conditions, Lewis. We know how tricky it is. We've seen Harvey Claridge fall off, with 5 laps to go. Can Rossi Banham take this to the line with no incidents? All he has to do is ride smoothly, not push it too much on that 96 machine. But this means that Noah Guillory is up into P3 after Harvey Claridge's fall. Can Harvey Claridge make that ground back up on Noah Guillory and overtake him within the 4 final laps to go?
Yeah, and you can just see conditions actually slightly worse on the track because the rain is still falling, so puddles are getting deeper and deeper, and the track is getting less and less grip. I mean, the fastest lap of the race was a 46.4 from Harvey Claridge, but Rossi Banham done very similar lap times earlier on in the race, and now they're all in the 48 second bracket, so conditions a lot worse now. And Rossi Banham right now, it looks like he is trying to use his head, just not push like it's dry, because as soon as you try and ride like it's dry in these conditions, that's when you start making mistakes.
Yeah, no, we do see a dry line starting to form as Harvey Claridge has just retired from the race. So really, really bad news for Harvey Claridge, who showed up today to race in these races. Very much not how he wanted it to go.
No, it was a dream race so far from Harvey Claridge. It looks like he couldn't even catch Rossi Banham, but it all unfolded with just 3 laps to go in this race. It is really pouring it down out there. Now the riders, they're testing all their skills and abilities, but Jack Andrews still trying his best to try and keep tabs on Rossi Banham. It's a 7-second gap, but stay that 7-second gap for a couple of laps now, so Rossi Banham not really escaping now. Jack Andrews only half a second a lap behind last lap, so yeah, it's really testing these riders' abilities and really testing these pit bikes.
Yeah, I do believe we have an issue with our timing tower, which currently says that Claridge is in P1, which I don't believe is the case, because we have Rossi Banham from Jack Andrews from Noah Guillory as we go on to with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, just 2 laps to go in this race. Rossi Banham now, it's just a case of bringing it home and just trying to use his head. I mean, these conditions, as you say, are so unforgiving, and we've seen it as so unforgiving, but Rossi Banham just getting his knee down slightly there. Some riders do like to run wet knee sliders, which are double the thickness and just let you get a bit more feel for the bike and for the track. But these riders, of course, not having a lot of time for these conditions, not a lot of time, so they may have just been focusing on getting the most important thing changed, and that is the tyres. The tyres doing a great job getting into the grooves, the water getting into the grooves and just dispersing it out. And it's just great seeing the riders are able to have so much grip in the wet conditions of these tyres.
Yeah, as we come around the final corner to go on to the final lap of this race, Rossi Banham with a 7.6 second gap to Jack Andrews, taking it easy around the outside of Blind Billy's. He can't risk hitting any of those puddles. He doesn't need to be fast on this lap. He just needs to bring that 96 bike home as he comes into the chicane now for the final time, taking it easy as there are puddles on the inside. We've had a crash for Jack Andrews. Jack Andrews is off on the final lap of this race. That surely means that Noah Guillory is going to be promoted up into P2.
Yeah, Jack Andrews, disaster on that last lap. On the last lap here is not what he would have wanted, but it's exactly what Rossi Banham would be pretty happy to see, because it's less pressure on him on this last lap. It's just bring it home now. It should be about a 10-second win, I believe, if Rossi Banham could just get round this final turn. He does a thumbs up to the crowd and he comes across the final straight in the most relaxed style I've seen anyone with a thumbs up, avoiding all the paint on this front straight, as we've seen all the riders do during this race, and wins the race and takes the checkered flag. But who is going to be third place? Noah Guillory should be in second, but will Jack Andrews, he has 9.2 second win from Rossi Banham, but will Jack Andrews be able to hold on to third place after that tip-off? He was lying in second but made that monumental mistake. But will Ryan Hitchcock, who has had crashes of his own that race, be able to keep up? But no, he will not. It's Rossi Banham who wins by 9.2 seconds over Noah Guillory, and Jack Andrews managing to keep a podium place after that last lap tip-off.
Yeah, no, an assured ride from Rossi Banham. Exactly what he would have wanted to have going into this race. Showboating again, as we see after every session, pretty much popping a wheelie again. As Noah Guillory comes around in P2, exactly what Guillory would have wanted, with Jack Andrews in P3, Ryan Hitchcock in P4, Owen Thomas taking P5, and 3 DNFs with Harvey Claridge, Clayton Edmonds and Sean Whitaker.
Yeah, it was that race once again. It was dramatic. It had crashes, it had bike issues, and it had some pretty good racing all throughout the race, to be fair, especially at the start. Rossi Banham, though, he was a leap ahead of everyone. Rossi Banham, he just managed to keep control of that race once he was in the lead, and just managed to make all his competitors crack.
Yeah, no, exactly how he would have wanted to approach this wet session. As the rain seems to have cooled off a little bit, we are getting it, well, it is getting a little bit lighter. We can see some blue skies now, but exactly what Rossi Banham would have wanted to achieve this weekend.
And next up we will have race 2 for the Mini GP 50 class. It is the first time that these riders will have a proper size motorcycle almost. It's slightly smaller than a 125, but it's far bigger than the mini motos which they've been on previously. It has clutch, gears, it has every single thing that a normal motorcycle which they'll be racing in the future will have, and it's the first time that these riders can show their talent on a bigger bike.
Yeah, no, we had a phenomenal race one yesterday. We in tricky conditions as well, but it was a little bit drier yesterday, so these riders are going to have to adapt to these conditions. We had an awesome three-way fight between Luke Fitchett, Marco Holt and Archie O'Brien towards the end of the race, providing some excellent entertainment which we are sure to get again, aren't we, Lewis?
Yeah, we certainly will. And will Archie O'Brien be able to get the bike off the line? We've said this for I think 5 races in a row now. Even last round of round 3 he just struggled to get the bike off the line. And if you're wondering where Archie O'Brien is, because he's not got his iconic Spider-Man helmet on, he's changed up his helmet for this weekend. It's just a normal style helmet, it's just a white and green and a bit of orange on there, so it's slightly weird seeing him without that. But I do not see Marco Holt on that grid right now.
That's an interesting one. Marco Holt obviously being pretty dominant this year so far, so that is concerning for Marco Holt.
Yeah, Marco Holt was wanting to win the championship this year. Of course, got second in the championship last year, but now all eyes are going to be on this race, and all eyes are going to be looking towards that pit lane to see if Marco Holt is waiting to get out.
Well, I believe Marco Holt did have some problems earlier on in the warm-up. We saw his dad wheeling his bike back into the garage, so he may not have got it fixed in time. Anyway, well, grid order, we have Archie O'Brien in P1 with a 40.751 in qualifying. We have Luke Fitchett on the front row in second. We should have Marco Holt in third, but I don't believe he will be attending this race. Bill Harris in fourth with Frankie Watson in fifth. Harley Baker in sixth with Bailey Lawrence filling out the grid in seventh.
Yeah, 7 riders should be starting this race, and although it's not the biggest field, it produces great racing. As we said yesterday, we had a great battle, and Luke Fitchett once again showing off his defending skills. It's such a great thing. You can see that shot there, the puddle, the rain is still coming down, so these riders, they're in such treacherous conditions, and now it's really going to test their ability, because these riders are, of course, all in 50cc 2-strokes, and now it is time just to wait and see as the riders come to the grid and finish this warm-up lap. So it's time to get ready for the first race of the day, race 2 of the Mini GP 50s. So it's the first race of the day for these guys in their warm-up. Once again, it was dry for them, so it's the first time they've been in wet conditions. Some of these guys might be the first time they've ever been in wet conditions on these motorcycles. So now all eyes are going to be on the lights, and all eyes have been waiting for this race to start. The tension will be building on the grid. They point to the lights, we wait for the lights to go on. The lights are on and lights are off, and we are racing. And once again, Archie O'Brien cannot get the bike off the line. He is down to second last place, but it's Luke Fitchett who makes an incredible getaway, and Luke Fitchett away, but it's Bill Harris actually in second place right now. Frankie Watson closely behind us. Archie O'Brien now has to cut through the pack.
Yeah, no, not the start that Archie O'Brien would have wanted at all. Did not get going the way he wanted to as they approached the hairpin for the first time, tiptoeing through in these awful weather conditions. Archie O'Brien is going to have to try really hard this race if he wants to challenge Luke Fitchett for the win.
Yeah, Archie O'Brien's going to have to push so hard in these first couple laps, which are the hardest laps to push on, because you start to get comfortable in the conditions as the race progresses, but these are changeable conditions. Every single lap, the bike, the track, everything is changing. Puddles are new in new places that they weren't in the lap previous, but it's Luke Fitchett who leads the way after lap 1, and he's already got a lead over Bill Harris by 2.1 seconds, so it's going to be such a tough task for Archie O'Brien. I mean, Archie O'Brien, every single race pretty much, he's struggling just to get a bike off the line. These are 2-strokes and these have clutches, so you really have to drag out the clutch just to keep the revs up, get it into the power band before you fully release it. I think Archie O'Brien's just struggling with that slightly, because of course it is his first year on the motorcycle.
Yeah, no, and obviously within these conditions it is harder to get off the line without wheel spin. As we watch Bill Harris now coming into the horseshoe, look at those puddles on the inside. It makes racing extremely difficult, because there is only one dry line that forms as they come around the horseshoe. Archie O'Brien hasn't made any progress yet, but as we know, he is very strong towards the end of these races, Lewis.
Yeah, he certainly is. As soon as he starts to get comfortable in the conditions, he is on it, and he will do his best to bridge up this gap. Right now, he's still in 4th place, and currently the gap to the leader for Archie O'Brien is 6.1 seconds. So he is going to have to put in some incredible lap times and hope that Luke Fitchett makes a mistake, because right now Luke Fitchett, he's done a 48.7. All the other riders in the grid are doing 50 seconds or plus, so Luke Fitchett on it in these conditions. You can just see it from some riders, they just love the wet conditions.
Yeah, no, Fitchett absolutely assured out on track with a 4.3 second lead already with 9 laps to go. So are there any close battles on the track? It seems that we have some large gaps forming purely because of how difficult these conditions are. It's very, very difficult to follow another rider, especially when there are puddles all over the track.
Yeah, Bailey Lawrence having a great ride right now in 5th place, got past Harley Baker. They had quite a big struggle going into the front straight, and now Bailey Lawrence up into 5th place. So great ride from her, she'll be very pleased with that. But Harley Baker looking to struggle in these conditions right now. But Luke Fitchett once again a 49.8 in the 40 seconds range, while Archie O'Brien, his last lap was a 51.2. So Archie O'Brien may be lacking slightly in these conditions, or as you said, Dylan, later on in the race he may just come to form.
I believe Bill Harris made a mistake at the end of that last lap as well, because the gap between himself and Frankie Watson, with Archie O'Brien following with about 1.4 seconds behind, is getting ever closer, as Frankie Watson is looking to challenge the number 14 of Bill Harris.
Yeah, Bill Harris, he's just trying to feel out the conditions right now. He did actually set his fastest lap of his race so far for 50.065, so just feeling out the conditions and just seeing what he can do. As Luke Fitchett once again does a 48.5, and that is an incredible lap in these conditions. In fact, if you didn't join us during warm-up, in the 50 class during warm-up, Archie O'Brien was actually below the lap record, although it didn't count because it was in warm-up and it has to be done in the race. It was still showing the great pace that he can have on this track, but it's just showing how tricky these conditions are. I do not think we're going to see any lap records broken today.
Yeah, no, exactly, especially within these conditions. As we're watching Bill Harris come through the hairpin now, the gaps are closing within the battle for second. Archie O'Brien's pace has come to him a little bit as he's all over the back of Frankie Watson now. Can he make a move on this lap or the next? We have 7 laps to go, going into the final corner now.
Yeah, we do, just 7 laps to go, and Bill Harris makes his way through the final corners. Luke Fitchett once again sets a 48.9. He's just constantly in the 48s to the 49s. He's so consistent with his lap times, and that is really what helps you in these conditions. If you can just get into a flow, picking the same braking marker, picking the same pickup point for the throttle, and just getting in the power band at the perfect place, not too early on these wet tyres. You can just see, go into that shot, the grooves on these wet tyres. It really helps disperse the water, so then they can still find grip in this tarmac as he just tries to get past Harley Baker there with just 6 laps to go. He gets past perfectly there, no issues for him, and really just showing his class in these conditions.
Yeah, no, as I said earlier, these times can differ substantially due to the fact that there are multiple lines through these corners, especially the first kink of Blind Billy's, due to the new tarmac on the inside that can get very, very slippery, so you definitely don't want to hit that on one of these motorcycles.
Yeah, you don't, and one thing you don't want to hit either is on the front straightaway on the start finish line. Whenever you get to the grid, there is a yellow middle line, and each rider is staying on the right hand side of that, because if you go to the left of that, there's a puddle, and if you touch the paint, it is so slippy. The paint in the wet conditions is so treacherous, and so are the curves. But look, Fitchett, fastest lap of the race with 48.5. There's confirmation of that. Well, it's still a lap speed of 60 mile per hour, which is very impressive on these machines.
Yeah, no, times are getting slower as the rain falls more, or these riders are getting a little bit more nervous when it comes to handling these bikes. But we do see a little patch of blue sky at the moment, so these conditions are sure to calm off in the last final 5 laps of this race.
Yeah, so right now in this race it is Luke Fitchett who still leads the way as we wait for the riders to cross the line. But right now it seems that Archie O'Brien and Frankie Watson are the real people to watch right now. Actually, Bill Harris as well. This battle for second, third and fourth is really on now. 4 laps to go, and you can just see Frankie Watson trying to find any way past Bill Harris. But one person is there, is Archie O'Brien, ready just to take positions if anyone runs each other wide, or if there's anyone make cracks and makes a mistake under the pressure. So we wait to see as Bill Harris goes into the hairpin, Frankie Watson closely behind.
Yeah, no, we know that Archie O'Brien is not afraid to pick up the scraps, as we saw in yesterday's race on the final lap, picking up second behind who won yesterday?
Yesterday in the Mini GP class, it was won by Marco Holt, I believe.
We're going to have to confirm.
And yeah, we're going to have to wait for that to get confirmed. Yesterday, it was in the race, it was a lot happened. There was a lot of condition changes. But Archie O'Brien right now, working behind in that 4th place. He's still waiting. So now 3 laps to go in this race. Bill Harris still in 2nd place. Frankie Watson still at that first turn, just trying to find any way past. But now it looks like Archie O'Brien has a run going into the S's, and he looks to try and make a move, but he can't as Frankie Watson closes the door.
Yeah, no, you can see how much these riders are tiptoeing through the corners. We only have 3 laps to go. The last thing any of them want to do is make a mistake and lose a big haul of points, as that's wide on the exit for Bill Harris. Frankie Watson's gone through. Frankie Watson's taken 2nd place from Bill Harris. Is Bill Harris compromised now? Will Archie O'Brien fancy a move?
Yeah, and sorry about that. Luke Fitchett actually won yesterday's race in these wet conditions. Mark Holt closely behind. It was that freeway scrap for the race win, and constantly chopping and changing all the way up through the race. It was similar to this yesterday for the first place, but right now all eyes are on Frankie Watson. Frankie Watson in that 2nd place now. It will be an incredible result for him and his dad and his whole family to be able to get that 2nd place. But right now Archie O'Brien still in that 4th place. We really thought he would make inroad on the gaps right now going into the lateral stages of the race, but it just hasn't came to fruition. So right now Archie O'Brien still 52nd lap times. Luke Fitchett slowed down slightly. He's doing 51s right now because he has an 8.9 second lead. So now it's just at the point of using your head and staying on the motorcycle.
Yeah, no, this group of 3 are coming up to the back marker of Bailey Lawrence as well. So will that play a part in this exciting battle as we have 2 laps to go? Coming into the final corner, can Bill Harris mount a charge here and try and make a move into turn 1 as he gets a decent exit out of the final corner? How committed will he be through Blind Billy's? Will he lift off? Archie O'Brien seems to be the
most committed, carrying so much speed. As we watch Luke Fitchett now coming into the S's for the final time, tiptoeing through. He really does not need to push here. Coming down the back straight towards the hairpin for the final time. Tips it into the corner. Absolutely smooth as you like. You don't need anything else, Luke. As he goes towards the horseshoe for the final time, avoiding the puddles on the inside, tiptoeing through. He's got 2 corners left as we see an overtake by Archie O'Brien. Archie O'Brien's launched one on Bill Harris again. Very reminiscent of what he did on Marco Holt yesterday. So here we have Luke Fitchett coming around the final corner onto the start-finish straight to win this race around Clay Pigeon Circuit and take P1 in race 2 of the Mini GP50s.
Yeah, and actually I believe it's Archie O'Brien got past Frankie Watson. Yes, he has. Frankie Watson's dropped back, so now it's Bill Harris in second place, Archie O'Brien getting that final podium position, and Frankie Watson with 4th, but Bailey Lawrence comes home in 5th place and Harley Baker in 6th. But there's confirmation of your podium. Luke Fitchett winning the race in such a dominant fashion, 6.8 seconds from Bill Harris, and Archie O'Brien getting that final place on the podium.
Yeah, very exciting race, very unpredictable. Great race from Luke Fitchett, followed by Bill Harris in 2nd. Archie O'Brien takes 3rd with Frankie Watson in 4th, Bailey Lawrence in 5th and Harley Baker in 6th.
Yeah, so great ride from Luke Fitchett, just in that cooldown lap there, waving to the crowds and waving to the cameras. He'll be delighted with that race result, even though he'll be absolutely soaked through right now. And there is Archie O'Brien waving and shaking his fist in victory, because he is happy with that 3rd place, with the start that he got, and he just managed to make a great move on the last lap on Frankie Watson. Of course, disappointing for Frankie Watson, wasn't that 2nd place, so he must have had some sort of issue, because his last lap was a 51.3, while both Bill and Archie had 49. So yeah, it really just allowed them to get in front of Frankie. But there is blue skies, which I think a lot of people will be relieved to see.
Here we are for the AC40 Rookies Mini Moto race around this very damp Clay Pigeon circuit. These lads are just beginning their riding careers, and these conditions are very treacherous, aren't they, Lewis?
Yeah, they certainly are. We do have blue skies peeking out now, so maybe the track can start to dry, but there's still some grey clouds in the air. It's still some black clouds in the air. So hopefully no more rain comes, and we might even get the final race of the day with some slightly drier conditions, because this track does dry really quick. But these riders sitting on the grid right now, some of them being a rookie class, their first time in the wet conditions, may have been yesterday, the first time in their life, so it's so difficult in the wet. But the one thing that is strange in the wet conditions is some riders take to it like a duck in water, to be honest, while others really just hate the wet conditions and struggle to get fast with it, and struggle just to get the lap times and get frustrated and start trying and pushing as hard as they can to get faster in these wet conditions, which is when you try too hard and your lap times become slower, and it really messes with your head. So right now the riders will be trying just to stay nice and relaxed. That's the best thing you can do in these conditions, and just stay relaxed, and the lap times will come to you.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, these bikes are not like ducks in water when they are in water. So we're bound to see another crazy race like we did yesterday, a race of attrition. We might see riders off, so it's all to be seen.
Yes, certainly. And I mean, you've seen actually on the air filter of the carburetor, they're running some covers just so no rain gets inside of it, and some parents looking on the grid. But it's going to be Taylor Tomlinson who's starting in pole position with Annabelle McCarthy alongside. Logan Cousins will be starting 3rd with Seth Hayward rounding off the 2nd row of the grid. Preston Baker will be starting in 5th with Max Johnson in 6th. Tyler Hartley in 7th with Sebastian Goslowski in 8th. Matthew Jennings will be starting in 9th with Daisy Holden will be starting in 10th. Josh Perkins in 11th with Nicholas Dunwoody in 12th. Kai Hawkins in 13th with Archie Hooper in 14th. Jensen Ansell in 15th with Kiel Ratcliffe in 16th. Mason Fedrick in 17th. Matthew Fedrick's son, and Jensen Cedrus 18th with Oliver Wilson 19th, and Danny Longhurst rounds off the 10th row of the grid in 20th. No. And there's a issue actually from one of the Bakers, Preston Baker. We've just seen Harley Baker out on track in the 50s race, so some issues there. Quickly parent runs and tries to get that bike restarted and hopefully makes it to the grid on time for the start.
Yeah, no, this is not what he wants at the start of this race, but he has got going again. Can he make it round to the grid, as we have a few of the riders at the front of the field stopping on within their grid spots. So we shall wait for the start of the race.
Yeah, we're waiting for the start of the race. Final checks are being done on the grid. Final looks are being done on the motorcycles and on every single part, because it gets clogged up with the rain. And yes, the riders right now, full focus, are going to be on the lights.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a difficult race for all of these lads out on track. It seems we have had all of the bikes return to the grid, apart from that one that we saw have some issues. But he's coming around the final corner now and should be lining up on his grid slot to get this race started.
Yeah, so now we're just waiting. There is Preston Baker coming up to the grid before the start marshal informs everyone to get off the grid, and then we can get racing underway. This is race 2 of the AC40 rookies.
Yeah, as we wait for the marshals to point up to the lights to get this race underway, as these kids wait, very nervous probably, as they are waiting at this very, very treacherous race. So we are waiting to see if they are ready to get going. Yes, the marshal points to the lights. The lights come on. And the lights are off and they get underway. That's a brilliant start from Taylor Tomlinson as he gets into the lead. Poor start for Annabelle McCarthy, unfortunately, as they head to turn 1 for the first time. Tiptoeing through due to these treacherous conditions. Puddles on the inside and the outside of the track as they come to the S's for the first time. Annabelle McCarthy's fallen back big time, all the way back into P5, I believe. As we have riders side by side through the S's, we have a rider off in the background there. Who is that, Lewis?
That, I believe, is one of the number... Tyler Hartley, I believe that is fallen down on the deck there, number 10. But we wait and see a move getting done at. So I believe that's Taylor Thompson in the lead right now, and right now Seth Hayward is in 4th place. So a cracking result. But the real loser on this first lap is Annabelle McCarthy, as we see Taylor Thompson actually getting challenged for the lead.
Yeah, no, great move around the outside into the final corner as they come onto the start finish straight for the first time. They have to avoid those puddles because they are treacherous. You can aquaplane all the way across them as they go round Blind Billy's for the first time at full speed, as we have Max Johnson from Taylor Tomlinson, from Logan Cousins, from Seth Hayward going down into turn 1.
Yeah, Max Johnson, great start from him, and Max Johnson right now fastest lap of the race, 2 seconds faster actually as Taylor Thompson on that first lap, because they started quite far back in the grid, to be honest. But right now the riders just trying to face out the conditions, and there is number 141 who actually quite a big crash last round, got ran over by a motorcycle. But it's great to see riders returning after such a big crash.
We've had enough.
Yeah, Max Johnson right now started in 6th place, but that is the number 12 that has fallen off. That's Archie Hooper, who has fallen off at the hairpin. So easy to do at the hairpin, such a slow corner, and just easy to lose the front and even lose the rear, because on these mini motos a lot of the back brake is used because the front can be sometimes too aggressive, especially in these conditions, and they're not really going fast enough, and the brakes aren't really powerful enough to lock up the rear wheel. So it's very suitable to use, and we see these riders coming across the line to make it 6 laps to go.
Yeah, as we watch the number 30 of Josh Perkins hunt down the number 7 of Logan Cousins into turn 1, tiptoeing through the corners. Still a dry line is beginning to form with 6 laps to go as they come into the S's now. Max Johnson, though, what a start. He couldn't have asked for anything else.
Yeah, he certainly could. Max Johnson leads the way, but Taylor Thompson just 9/10 of a second back, and they're doing very, very similar lap times. They're the only riders in the 54 bracket. So right now they look like they are the contention for the race and the people that have been battling for the win. But of course these conditions are so treacherous, as you're seeing right there. And there is another tip off actually from Archie Hooper at the exact same corner. So it's just showing straight away, whenever you fall off in these conditions, you have to keep pushing. This is a race, just 6 laps to go. It goes past so quick. So no matter what, even though you've had that tip off, you almost have to throw it to the back of your mind and keep pushing.
Yeah, no, the tarmac into the hairpin is very uneven, so rain does sit very easily as we see these riders going into turn 1 now. I believe that's Josh Perkins getting past Logan Cousins.
Yeah, I believe it as well. And Taylor Thompson right now, 6/10 of a second gap now. He's not far off the race lead, and he's really looking to win the race once again. Taylor Thompson, he's shown great form all throughout the season. I mean, at the start of the season, it was mainly him and Sebastian Gieslowski that were sparring partners, but Sebastian Gieslowski in this race dropped down to 11th place now. But still a great ride, because these conditions, they don't suit some. In these conditions, you can get caught up in other people's incidents and other people holding you up, and it's so tricky to get past, especially with the spray.
Yeah, no, as we watch the fight for the final place on the podium here, it looks like Josh Perkins can make his way away from Logan Cousins, but anything can happen in this race. The rain is all over the track. These bikes are difficult to control at the best of times, let alone when the track is this slick, as we have a rider down.
Yeah, Max.
Oh, we have another rider down. No, that's Max Johnson.
No, it's
Max Johnson's
not.
off.
Yeah, it is. Yep, Max Johnson down on the deck, race leader down. He was starting to get some pressure from Taylor Tomlinson. 0.4 of a second gap on that final lap, so now maybe he just cracked, and it's just so easy to make mistakes. So now the real question is going to be, what will Taylor Tomlinson do?
Yeah, no, Taylor Tomlinson all over the back of Josh Perkins. Can he make some inroads on Taylor Tomlinson for the lead now? He's got 6 seconds to gain. It looks incredibly unlikely with 4 laps to go. However, anything can happen. We've just seen Max Johnson come off towards the final corner, which is exactly not what he wanted.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Annabelle McCarthy right now in 7th place. So 7th place from Annabelle McCarthy is not too bad. Although she started second on the grid, it's such hard conditions. And as I said at the start of the race, some of the riders straight away are able to go to the conditions. And there is our race leader, Taylor Tomlinson, coming through the first corner, going into the S's, and you can just see how tentative he's being. He's got the rain knee sliders on, as I was talking about in the pit bike warm-up. As some riders like to run the double thickness sliders, and Taylor Thompson's one of them. It gives you extra feel for the track, and you can just see how thick they are compared to usual sliders.
Yeah, no, all he has to do is get to the end of this race though, but that's exactly what Max Johnson had to do. So we've already seen it happen. Will Taylor Tomlinson make a mistake at any point in these final 3 laps?
Yeah, Taylor Tomlinson, he's known for keeping a cool head while in the lead and while under an extreme amount of pressure. Although we have seen him crack before at actually Clandell, we've seen him crack, and he managed to pick up the bike and still get a podium. So Taylor Tomlinson, he's on it, he crosses the line, and it's with 2 laps to go in this race. Josh Perkins behind him, and I believe that's Max Johnson once again at the side of the track in the first corner. So Max Johnson, it's not what he wanted at all in this race, but all eyes are on Taylor Thompson. Right now he has a 4.9 second lead in these treacherous conditions.
Yeah, no, sorry, I misunderstood. I thought that Max Johnson came off towards the final corner, but I was wrong. It was the first corner. But as we watch Taylor Tomlinson now coming back with 2 laps to go, coming through with the horseshoe now. Josh Perkins in second, 4.9 seconds behind Taylor Tomlinson, with Logan Cousins not too far behind Josh Perkins. So could we say anything happened in the fight for second?
Yeah, I certainly think we will. Only 0.8 of a second gap, so there's nothing in it. And in these conditions, sometimes having an 0.8 of a second gap is sometimes better than a 0.2 of a second gap, because whenever you're right in front, well, right behind the rider, it's so tricky to be able to see where you're trying to go in these wet conditions. So sometimes being a bit further back means you can run your own lines and run your own race. And it also means if Josh Perkins makes a mistake, Logan Cousins does not get mixed up in it. But Logan Cousins once again has brought down that gap to just 0.6 of a second gap now, and it's 1 lap to go in this race. We see that Taylor Tomlinson leads by 5.3 seconds. He's just trying to bring it home. He's just trying to get past a couple back markers. He's only a couple corners away. Will he be able to do it in race 2? The first race of the day on the Sunday is wet, just like yesterday, but Taylor Tomlinson shows his skill, shows his form. Keep in mind, these guys are rookies. It's their first full season racing the motorcycle for most of them, ages of 6 and upwards, and able to do this with such skill as he comes around the final corner into the front straight on this wet racetrack, as Taylor Tomlinson takes the race win in such a fashion. Over 5 seconds last lap. What will it be now? Taylor Tomlinson claps from the crowd, and Taylor Tomlinson delighted with that. Josh Perkins on that last lap brought it down to 4 seconds, but I do believe Taylor Tomlinson just took it easy on that last lap, as we see a couple more riders come towards the line in what was an exciting and wet race once again.
Yeah, no, extremely unpredictable. It looked like Max Johnson had that race under control, but anything can happen in these conditions, especially on these small bikes. So unlucky for Max Johnson, but a great ride from Taylor Tomlinson.
Yeah, Taylor Tomlinson, great ride, as we've already said. And Logan Cousins. He brought the gap down once again to 5/10 of a second, but he just ran out of time. There was not enough laps in the race for him, but 17 finishers so far. It's pretty good for these rookie riders. Most of them be able to keep up in these conditions, and what is really, really difficult for these small riders, because it is such a small motorcycle, so the groove pattern in the tyres is even smaller to disperse this water.
Yeah, no, exactly. So the grid order, we had Taylor Tomlinson from Josh Perkins in second, Logan Cousins in third, followed by Seth Hayward, Daisy Polden, Archie Cooper, Nicholas Dunwoody, Annabelle McCarthy, Sebastian Gazlowski, and Kai Holken in P10.
Yeah, it was a great race there, and Taylor Thompson once again just showing his true class.
Yeah, exactly. The conditions are better than when we began, though, with one more race to go later on in the AC40 rookies.
And next up, we will have race 2 for the Moto Team class. These bikes are quite big. They're big riders. These are full-grown adults on full-grown motorcycles around these kart tracks, so it's so difficult to be able to ride it around these kart tracks. I mean, the kart tracks are so tight and twisty, especially for the hairpins, and it really is going to test our ability and test these tyres on these motorcycles. You can see a couple of riders on the screen. Jay King, actually, with a number 1 plate, of course, last year's champion in the Moto Team class, and Jay King, he's able to run a dark visor in these conditions, which is a very rare thing that you see in wet conditions, because it's harder to see the puddles. But Jay King running a new helmet this round, actually an LS2 helmet, which of course sponsor the Mini GP70 British Championship. Jay King only riding in the Moto Team class and only got this helmet for this round because he had such a big crash at Ella Park, meaning that he had to get a new helmet, which I believe Oliver Hall has helped him with and sponsored him with, so he's able just to ride, and only riding this class as the Pit Bike 140s. I believe his bike's not ready yet, and he's struggling with his broken ribs.
Yeah, no, we had a very exciting Moto Team race yesterday. I believe Darren Anderson took charge of the race, with Will Howarth struggling in these conditions, which was definitely interesting.
Yeah, Will Howarth actually stalled it on the line. It may have still been in gear, and he's just let go of the clutch, and it's stalled his two-stroke, so he had to bump start quickly there, as he got permission from the start marshals to head out on their warm-up lap.
So in P1 we have Darren Anderson with a 42.739 in qualifying, followed by Will Howarth in P2, Jack Andrews in P3 with Jason Pugh in P4, Ian Jackson in P5 with Jamie King in P6, Philip Joyce in 7th with Scott Hewitt in 8th, and we have Jamie Diss and Madison Martlew in P9 and 10.
Yeah, the Moto Team class, it's something different, it's something new for these riders, and everyone watching at home. It's a class that haven't been around for too long. It's one of our newer classes here at FAB. There's 2 classes within this one race. There's a standard class and there's the open class, and it's one thing really that is not seen as big bikes around these kart tracks.
Yeah, no, exactly. As they're rounding the final corner now to line up on the grid. The conditions are better than we have seen earlier on today. Obviously, having bikes out on track has dried up the track ever so slightly, but we still have puddles all around the track, which is going to prove to be a challenge for these riders out there today.
Yeah, it certainly is, as the riders head up to the grids for what will be an thrilling race and a thrilling first lap.
Yeah, as we watch Will Howarth and Darren Anderson on the first and second spot on the grid, waiting for the marshal to point to the red light so we can get this race underway. The mental stress. Oh, there's Will Howarth drying his, warming up his rear tyre. And we have a transponder being reattached at the back of the grid just to make sure that they can actually trend the race, because you get disqualified without one. So that is why that is an area of importance on the number 333 machine. So as we wait for the marshal to point to the lights, these riders are rearing and ready to go. The lights have been pointed to, the red lights are on, and the lights are out, and away we go. Will Howarth's got a very, very poor start as Darren Anderson has gone into P1. Jack Andrews taking P2 as we have a crash at the back for the Suzuki machine. That is not how he would have wanted to start this race at all, as Will Howarth is now on the outside of Darren Anderson going towards the S's as the number 333 machine is being picked up. Darren Anderson has maintained the lead as Will Howarth has a look on the inside of the exit of the S's towards the hairpin. It's going to be side by side into the very, very wet hairpin. Will Howarth is going to collect some water as he goes through a puddle there. Can't find a way through as he looks to the inside on the exit for the outside of the horseshoe. Can he set himself up for a move into the final corner? As as Darren Anderson gets a great exit out of that corner. Will Howard doesn't quite have the, and he has a run down the inside. He makes a move down into the inside of the final corner. This will surely give Darren Anderson a good exit out of the final corner here onto the start finish straight. They go through Blind Billy's for the first time. Will Howard looks assured here. Darren Anderson trying to set him up for a move into turn 1.
Yeah, Will Howard leads the way, and right behind them though is his sparring partner of the season, Darren Anderson. Darren Anderson of course missed Ella Park, which meant that Will Howard was frankly bored because he was winning by a mile, so he started from the back of the grid, and now Darren Anderson has returned. You've seen it on that first lap. Darren Anderson is straight back on it on Will Howard and getting Will Howard some proper competition. Jason Pugh right now in third place, just behind him, and Jack Andrews is in fourth. We've seen Jack Andrews out previous in the pit bike, and yeah, it's been a great start from Will Howard. He's just trying to bridge a gap as soon as possible because he knows if he gives Darren Anderson an inch, Darren Anderson will try and be up his inside or even round the outside as we see in the first lap.
Yeah, no, Will Howard struggled in these conditions yesterday, so it's certainly not over until they cross the finish line. So 781 0.781 seconds separating the lead at the moment, with Will Howard having the fastest lap of the race with a 46.978 as we watch Ian Jackson now come in to the S's section. Jamie King behind him. Sorry, we've got a back marker there on the 276.
Yeah, Jack Andrews right now, you can see how just standard his motorcycle is, with the fact that on his rear seat unit he still has the seat that was fitted for the road. But right now it is the battle for fourth place right now. Jack Andrews with Ian Jackson just behind him, and Jamie King sitting there waiting for something to happen so he can get up a place. But Jamie King right now lurking behind, but it's Jack Andrews who has to go as defensive as possible, as Will Howard actually sets the fastest lap of the race with 46.2. But right now Ian Jackson trying to go this way, that way, trying to find any way past, but this first corner he takes a much more sweeping line around trying to go around the outside basically and just carry a bit more corner speed, because the thing is, in the wet it's harder to get on the throttle early and harder to brake later. So if you can carry more corner speed, that is the key for success. So right now Ian Jackson tried to dive down the inside, but if you try to make that work, Will Howard having an issue. But of course Will Howard right now, he's just trying to get it working. He's shaking his head. I believe that may have even been a problem for him, because right now the bike is back up to run in order, so that might have been a rider error and not a machine error. He is on a two-stroke, of course. He might have just missed the gear and been out the power band for so long. Once you're out the power band, you have almost zero power on a two-stroke. Darren Anderson right now is leading the race, and Darren Anderson has a much more rideable motorcycle. Them four-stroke, from low revs to the high, you can ride it how you want. You control the motorcycle, while the two-stroke can sometimes have the mind of its own, which we just seen there. But there's your race leader, Darren Anderson, leading the way by 3.3 seconds as he gets through a couple of lap markers.
Yeah, no, exactly. But we saw the pace that Will Howard had at the beginning of this race. He's going to be annoyed at himself after that one. So he's certainly going to be trying his best to hunt down Darren Anderson in the dying embers of this race. We have 8 laps to go, which is definitely enough time for Will Howard to make a move with a 3.3 second gap at the moment.
Yeah, right now the battle's still raging on for fourth place, but it's Darren Anderson who leads the way with just 7 laps to go in this race as he gets past another back marker. But Will Howard right now 2.8 seconds behind, so he's already closed that gap. Right now Will Howard, for that last lap, he was about 5 tenths faster than Darren Anderson, so we still have a race on our hands here. There he is, getting past some lap traffic, the 119 of Philip Joyce. But there's the race leader once again, and there is the battle for fourth place. But it looks like actually Ian Jackson has got up into fourth place as Jack Andrews and Jamie King try to get past the back marker. So right now back markers really come into play. We said it yesterday, it really is depending on when you hit them and how you get into them. Really, it's all about luck.
Yeah, no, especially within these wet conditions. If you go off your standard racing line, you could hit a much wetter patch and make a mistake. As we watch Will Howard now coming onto the start-finish straight, he comes across the line as they currently have a 2-second gap between them. So he's gained over a second on that lap with 6 laps to go. So Will Howard is stalking Darren Anderson like a hawk as they enter the S's now. We have a battle further back.
Yeah, right now Jack Andrews trying to hold on to that 5th place from Jamie King, but Jamie King has different ideas. Jamie King is trying to find any way past, coming back from his injuries that he sustained at Ella Park at his home round. Such a disappointing round for him, but he is back, and he is back in style. He's trying to fight for a top 5 position, which is so respectable. But Darren Anderson right now still leads the way, but the gap's now just 2 seconds. We wait for them to come around the final corner to see them getting past another back marker. Jack Andrews trying his best not to lose as not to lose any time over Jamie King. As he come across the line, we wait to see what gap it'll be now from Darren Anderson. Will Howard, Darren Anderson sits the fastest. No, Will Howard sits the fastest lap of the race with a 45.8. Now the gap is just 1.2 seconds.
Yeah, no, this is getting spicy with 5 laps to go. These riders still have to be careful. They can't get complacent. As we watch Jack Andrews and Jamie King come through Blind Billy's, we see Darren Anderson followed by Will Howarth. The gap is getting smaller and smaller as Will Howarth is starting to get right up the rear end of Darren Anderson. Can he mount a move into the final corner here as he tries to set himself up best he can, wide on the entry, tight at the apex? Can he make a move into the final corner as we watch Jack Andrews go down the inside of Jamie King into the hairpin? Jamie King can't quite hold that position as we watch Darren Anderson on the start-finish straight now. Will Howarth stalking him like a hawk, going down into turn 1, nothing to separate the two of them.
Yeah, Will Howarth once again set the fastest lap of the race for 45.491 now. So that last lap, he was about a second quicker than Darren Anderson, so he clearly has the pace. And now it looks like he's going to plan a move round the outside actually at the hairpin, but maybe he's lining up for a better drive into the horseshoe. We wait and see Will Howarth try to line up a move. Can he make it work? No, he cannot, but Darren Anderson closes off the line as they get past another back marker, going into the final corner now. Darren Anderson trying to take a tighter line to defend, but Will Howarth right now carrying slightly more corner speed by being able to take whatever line he really wants as the battle still goes on for that 5th place.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. The track does get dry as this race goes onwards. Darren Anderson going into turn 1 now, followed by Will Howarth. Literally 1 bike length between the two of them as they go into the S's. Will Howarth has typically been much quicker in this section of the track, so can he set up a move as they go towards the hairpin? He seems to have got good drive, ducks into the slipstream now. Will he launch one down the inside? No. He's very, very close. Is he going to toy with Darren Anderson with 3 laps to go of this race?
Yeah, Will Howarth trying everything he can, but time is going to run out as they come across the line this time round. It's going to be 2 laps left, and he will know that he will be trying as hard as he can. Will Howarth, he's looking to make a move up Darren Anderson round the final corner, but Darren Anderson closes off the line, shuts off his front wheel and says you cannot go past as they come past Philip Joyce in the front straight. But this battle still goes on between Jack Andrews and Jamie King. Jamie King runs slightly wide and losing quite a lot of time, but Will Howarth, he's still stalking just behind Darren Anderson, just trying to find any way. But you can just see how much faster he is through turn 1. Maybe he is just seeing where it's possible to make a move up Darren Anderson for that final lap of the race. We await and see really, as it looks like Will Howarth trying to get a better drive going into the horseshoe once again. Can he line up a move as the sun is out here at Clay Pigeon? Once again, he goes round the outside, tries to take a far more sweeping line as he tries and just lines up for that last corner. Will Howarth be able to evade anything? He tried it last lap, he tries again this lap, he backs out of again this lap.
No, it looks like Will Howarth is waiting for his send as they go into the final lap of this race. He looks like he's toying with Darren Anderson as they go round Blind Billy's for the final time towards turn 1. Will Howarth launch a move into turn 1? No, he will wait. He gets a great exit out the S's. Will he be able to do that again? No, he's going to launch it into the S's. He makes the move on Darren Anderson into the S's. Will Anderson get a good exit to try and overtake him back for the race lead as they go towards the hairpin for the final time? Darren Anderson is not close enough. Will Howarth makes a final lap overtake as they go round the hairpin towards the horseshoe as we watch the fight between Jamie King and Ian Jackson.
Yeah, right now the battle's raged on between Jack Andrews and Jamie King. Jack Andrews still got that position, but we're on the last lap of the race now. Darren Anderson coming round that final corner out, he's checking behind him, he sees that he's got the race win, he's going to celebrate over the line as he takes the checkered flag to win the race. It was an incredible ride from Will Howarth and setting the fastest lap of the race at 44.745 on that last lap, but Jack Andrews still fended off Jamie King. Jamie King trying absolutely everything. He's tried this way, that way, but he cannot make it work. They head towards the final corner. Jamie King is not going to work, but a 6th place coming back from injury is so respectable. My hat goes off to you, Jamie.
Yeah, no, a fantastic ride from both of them. Is he going to be able to get him on the line here? The race isn't over until they cross the line, but I don't think... Oh, and he's off! He's off after the finish. That is not what Jamie King needed, especially with his injury. Drama at the line.
Yeah, Jamie King, it just shows how treacherous those conditions are. The fact that obviously at that start-finish line there is a kink in the straight. It goes to the left, so it might have just caught him off guard as he was purely focused on trying to get as tucked in as possible to try and get past Jack Andrews, but Jack Andrews just pipped him on the line over that last lap.
Yeah, no, absolutely the race that Will Howarth would have wanted again. Looked like he was toying with Darren Anderson for the remainder of the race after his initial mistake. So we had Will Howarth from Darren Anderson, from Jason Pugh, Ian Jackson in 4th with Jack Andrews in 5th, Jamie King in 6th and falling off after the line. We have Philip Joyce in 7th with Madison Marlew in 8th with a DNF for Scott Dewitt at turn 1.
Yeah, you just seen Jack Andrews coming to check on Jamie King to see if he was okay after that crash after the finish of the race. So they gave each other a fist bump, they're all good, and it's really what we love to see at FAB-Racing. Just the fact that although people can have incidents, everyone's best mates and everyone cares about everyone's safety. So the final checks are being done before they push that bike back across the track back to the paddock, because of course they want to check nothing is leaking out that motorcycle before they push it back onto the racetrack.
Yeah, no, these conditions are arguably more tricky than a full wet conditions, because since it appears to be dry in most areas, but we do have some very damp patches, so riders might give full commitment through wetter areas and come off like we saw with Jamie King at the end of that race. So what a race it was for Will Howarth, another awesome moto team race at FAB-Racing.
Yes, certainly was, and it's certainly one that we're going to remember because it was a great battle all throughout the race, and there's multiple battles going on all throughout the race. Of course, we had Jamie King and Jack Andrews having that scrap, but of course, all eyes was on the race lead for Will Howarth and Darren Anderson. But thank you for tuning in. You're watching FAB-Racing. Please stay with us. We're not finished just yet. We still have plenty of races coming up, including race 3 for the moto team, which will be happening after lunch as Jamie King trudges back to the paddock, and it's sun's out, bikes are out, everyone is having a good time now. The rain looks to have dissipated right now, and we just wait for the track to become dry.
Welcome to the Junior LC40 Elite Mini Moto Race. Race 2 this weekend at Clay Pigeon. We had an awesome race yesterday, didn't we, Lewis?
Yeah, we certainly did, and it is great seeing the class that has grown so much in the past couple of years, and it's one that is the final step for these riders before then they head on to the likes of the Mini GP50s. But yesterday we had Austin Johnson getting the win with his brother Byron just behind in second place. So it was a Johnson 1-2. I bet the household was happy with that result, and Harrison Day coming home in third place, a highly respectful result. But Liam Lindquist coming home in fourth, and Oliver Hall in fifth place. So yeah, it was a mixed race yesterday, similar conditions almost yesterday to these, so it's going to be a real question, will we see a similar result?
Yeah, the track is starting to dry, so this class haven't actually been out on the full wet surface that we had earlier on. So as they wait on the grid, there's going to be loads going through their minds. These riders are still very young, so damp patches on the track can toy with them mentally.
Yeah, it certainly will be, and that's the good thing about having the parents being allowed onto the grid. It allows them just to have final checks on motorcycles and final checks on their child, and one final friendly face to see before then they go out and race. And it really will be able to give them confidence. The parents will be giving them words of encouragement, telling them that they can do this, because on the starting grid right now it is a horrific feeling. Although they all love racing, there'll be butterflies everywhere in their stomach, and one person who will certainly have butterflies will be Byron Johnson, who lines up on pole position alongside Sam Gardner. Harrison Day will be starting in third place of Austin Johnson alongside him. Jensen Bishop will be lining up on the third row of the grid in fifth place with Matthew Thomas alongside him. Liam Lindquist will be starting seventh with Chloe Gleeson, one of our female riders here at FAB, will be starting eighth. Cal Maxwell will be starting ninth on the fifth row of the grid with Oliver Hall alongside him. George Ackerman in 11th, and Dylan Tureen rounds off the grid.
Yeah, we had some drama on the formation lap yesterday with some riders having mechanical problems. We had some riders falling off their bikes in similar conditions. So anything can happen today. This is sure to be a race of attrition as they come around the final corner now to line up on the grid.
Yeah, they certainly do, and the sun is out for them, so really now it's going to be a case of what visor have they put in as well, because although it's wet, the sun's also out, so the sun could get in your eyes, so it's a real compromise. Right now you've got half-tinted visor, and some riders actually, Oliver Hall I believe has a full tinted visor. So yeah, it's a real personal preference, and we're going to have to wait and see what is going to happen. We're going to have to wait and see what's going to happen in this race. This is race 1 of the day and race 2 of the weekend for the LC40 Elites. This is the premier class of mini motos here at FAB. We await for the final checks to be done on the grid. Jensen Bishop right now in the corner of your picture having a little conversation with a parent. everyone off the grid. The start marshal says, and we wait as the final check's being done. Dylan Torrini at the back of the grid, final check's being done. Points the lights. Everyone stares at the lights. Tension rises. Lights are on and lights are off, and we are racing for race 2, and it is Byron Johnson who gets an excellent start, but Sam Gardner is alongside him, and Oliver Hall has a disaster at the line, cannot get away. Sam Gardner tries to go round the outside at the first turn, but Byron Johnson says no, closes off the gap. But right now Sam Gardner is in a Johnson sandwich and Harrison Day in 4th. Harrison Day getting a great start with Sam Gardner. Sam Gardner right now, he's not lost any positions, which is exactly what you want, but Matthew Thomas right now just a slight gap in 5th place.
Yeah, absolutely the start that Byron Johnson would have wanted, as he's being stalked by Sam Gardner, and not to mention his brother Austin Johnson in 3rd, all over the back of Sam Gardner. We're going to be waiting to see if he can make a move as they come through the final corner now to finish lap 1 of this amazing LC40 Elite race.
Yeah, it's been a great first lap, and it's been a great getaway from Byron Johnson. Byron Johnson, what can he do now? But what can Sam Gardner do? Sam Gardner is going to be a real test of what he can do, because it's 3/10 of a second gap. So right now he just has to stick with him. But Austin looking towards a dive with Sam Gardner. But the thing is, that first corner, it's so hard to make a move. The line closes so quickly. It looks like a gap's there, but all the riders know it closes in. It's near impossible to go down the inside. But this is FAB Racing. Anything can happen. These riders are so ambitious. As an ambitious move comes from Austin Johnson at the hairpin. It gets past Sam Gardner, so now it's a Johnson 1-2. Byron looks to his right, sees his brother as his brother goes round the outside at the horseshoe and somehow makes it work. Byron Johnson down to 2nd place. What can Byron Johnson do to make up the position?
Very, very confident move around the outside by Austin Johnson on his brother there. Just found grip where no one else could find it. Into the lead. What a move that was, overtaking Sam Gardner, then his brother. 2 bikes in one section of the track as he comes round with 7 laps to go, setting the fastest lap of the race with a 52.134.
Yeah, it's been a great start right now from Austin Johnson, a 52.134, as Dylan just said, faster than everyone else out on track, a 1.2 seconds faster than his brother Byron. So what can Byron do? Can Byron pick up the pace as Harrison Day has got past Matthew Thomas? A couple of laps ago, so Matthew Thomas in 5th place right now, but Harrison Day has actually dropped back quite a lot on that first lap. But now things are just starting to bridge together. Liam Lindquist right now tries to find any way past George Ackerman, but Austin Johnson still leads the way with just 7 laps to go.
Yeah, George Ackerman just made a very, very ambitious move up the inside of Liam Lindquist. We have a dry line forming out on track, which might make the riders overconfident, as we still do have some wetter sections of the track, notably on the inside of the first kink of Blind Billy's, as we have the Johnson brothers beginning to break away, and a brilliant fight between Harrison Day, Matthew Thomas, Liam Lindquist and George Ackerman starting to form as they go towards the S's. That's Harrison Day coming into the S's now. Can he defend from Matthew Thomas as he gets a good exit? Liam Lindquist gets an even better exit as they go towards the hairpin. Will Liam Lindquist launch a move? He will, down the inside of Matthew Thomas. Great move.
Yeah, it certainly was, and Byron Johnson has a response to his brother with a 51.1, fastest lap of the race, 1/10 faster than his brother. But this battle right now for 4th place is really raging on. I mean, it's starting to bunch up, and a lot more riders are getting involved, which they may just start tripping each other up, which may let Sam Gardner get away. And Sam Gardner in 3rd place right now. He's just seen the Johnsons disappear, and there's nothing he can do about it right now. He needs to stay calm, keep cool, and just try and run your own lines. Sam Gardner take a far more defensive line into that first corner there, but Harrison Day lurking behind, but Harrison Day has been overtaken by Liam Lindquist on that last lap. So Liam Lindquist now is trying to fight any way past Sam Gardner. Will he be able to do it? As we see the race leader Austin Johnson through the hairpin, perfectly done, and his fastest lap was a 50.5, the fastest lap of the race, and 4/10 faster than his brother Byron. So right now it's just like a game of chess with lap times between the Johnson brothers.
Yeah, these Johnson brothers look so comfortable out there, even in these treacherous conditions, getting their knee down perhaps a little bit more than any of the other riders out on track. But we do have a brilliant battle brewing for 3rd place. Who can get that podium spot, as we see Sam Gardner defending from Liam Lindquist as they go down into turn 1. Fastest laps down the board as Sam Gardner from Liam Lindquist from Matthew Thomas setting the fastest lap, all within hundreds of each other, with Matthew Thomas setting a 50.013. But Liam Lindquist is all over the back of Matthew Thomas. Sorry, just Sam Gardner now, as they go towards the hairpin. Will he make another lunge? No, he won't. No, he won't. This will allow Matthew Thomas to have a look at him around the outside.
Yeah, you can really just see the dry line that is starting to appear around this Clay Pigeon circuit. It dries so quick, there's a slight bit of wind, the sun's out, it's perfect conditions for drying a racetrack. So now the riders are really starting to push, got that confidence in the tyre, which you can clearly see from Matthew Thomas with a 50.013, a 50 dead. That is so impressive as they come to the line. Will that record be broken? Yes, they will, as Austin gets a 50.000, but then Matthew Thomas has a 49.8. The first 49 in the race. Matthew Thomas looks like he's wanting to make moves and get that podium position.
Yeah, absolutely, as Liam Lindquist has another look at Sam Gardner into the S's. Nothing to separate these three riders, but Liam Lindquist has got an excellent exit there on the drier line. Will he make a move to the inside? No, he won't. He doesn't want to risk compromising his run to Matthew Thomas, who we know is the fastest man out on track at the moment, as he looks to the inside into the horseshoe. No, will Matthew Thomas get a better exit here? I am not too sure. I am not sure at all, as he goes towards the final corner now, all over the back of Liam Lindquist. Surely a move is inevitable with the pace that he has out on track at the moment. Coming into the final corner, all over the back of Liam Lindquist, as Liam looks a little bit unsettled on the exit there, but Liam's actually closer to Sam Gardner now as they go through Blind Billy's. Going towards the first corner now. We can't see how that's finished, as that's Sam Gardner defending from Liam Lindquist. Matthew Thomas is on the inside. Oh, he has to back out of it there to avoid contact, so Liam Lindquist keeps the place.
Yes, certainly, and right now the boys of Fast Lap Race are 48.9, still quite a bit off the lap record. The lap record being a 41.5, so these conditions still not good enough to be a lap record, and we're just waiting. Maybe later on in the day with the race free, if the sun stays out like it is meant to be, we may see a lap record start to get shattered. We've seen it in warm-up with the great conditions that we had, so it's possible we can see it in races. And right now, Byron Johnson, fastest lap of the race, as I said, right on the tail of his brother Austin, with just one lap to go now. Just one lap to go in this race as they go across the timing line, and now the gap's just 0.4 of a second. Austin Johnson setting his personal best that time round with 49.059. So the lap times have just dramatically fallen throughout the whole race, and Sam Gardner still doing a great job as bike chatters away, going into the S's in third place right now. One loser so far has been Harrison Day. He's dropped all the way back down to sixth. Maybe the conditions just haven't suited him with it changing every single lap. He may just be a bit tentative when now it is time to push. Now it is time to realise that track is quite dry and there's dry lines appearing. The puddles are starting to get away and starting to disappear. So Austin Johnson will round the final corner to win the race. Well, he should win the race, but his brother is right on his tail, Byron. But Byron is on the air-cooled bike, so slightly slower, but Austin wins and takes the fastest lap of the race, but straight away taken from his brother, who finishes second place. And then straight away Liam Lindquist gets the fast lap of the race, finishing in third place with 47.9. So the top three setting fastest lap after fastest lap on that last lap of the race, with Austin getting the better of his brother Byron and Liam Lindquist getting a highly respectable podium.
Yeah, the track has dried substantially since the start of that race, as we see Austin Johnson, our winner, followed by Byron Johnson, with Liam Lindquist taking P3 right at the death from Sam Gardner, who had defended very well all race. Unfortunately, Matthew Thomas couldn't quite get past him either, with Harrison Day in 6th, George Ackerman in 7th, Jensen Bishop in 8th, Dylan Tureen in 9th, and Callum Maxwell in 10th.
Yeah, it was a great ride there from Austin Johnson. I mean, there's confirmation of that top 10. He won by 0.4 of a second, and that is he kept calm and he kept the pressure off him. I mean, his brother was on his tail that whole race, and they were doing incredible lap times towards the end. 48 seconds is no slouch, and even 47 seconds in Liam Lindquist's case. On these treacherous conditions, the race went from wet to intermediate, and now it is near dry. And for these riders in the next race, if we get no more rain, it should be full dry conditions. So now we may even see a completely different race free later on this afternoon.
Yeah, no, Liam Lindquist certainly pulled it out of the bag at the end of that race there. Fantastic from him.
So that is actually it for this morning's action. Join us after lunch for part 2. It should be about a 45-50 minute break. We'll be back on air to give you all the coverage from the race, the remaining race 2s and the race 3s. So please come back and join us then after lunch.